Yeah. I got unplugged and now it's working again. Okay. Anyway, sorry about that. Okay, so what now? Wait, did it start a new thing? I'll have to just check here. Yeah, I think so. I have to redo some things here. All right. There we go. Okay, let's see. Now we're up and running. Okay, so yeah, it just doesn't feel like this works, or I'm missing something. Because I also logged out. It should go into one of these because it can only be one of 4. So it has to go into one of these. Right? We are calling the thing though. We should be calling here. I'm just gonna log debug here, editor draw, and then I actually wanna have, let's just see if it gets called. And yeah, I'll put that on hold for now. So it shouldn't get called now because we're not in an editor, but once I click here, it should, yeah, it's spamming there. So it does get called. And, oops, we remove this. And now I put this here. So draw, and then I want the tag name here. Okay. So it should actually, it should go into one of these 4 because there's only 4, but it doesn't. So that's the weird part. Oh, well now it does. Wait, what? Why didn't it do that before? Oh, okay, maybe I didn't click enough. Okay, so it does go in here. Okay, maybe I was just, you know, fumbling around there, not actually getting in there. Okay, so it does work. And then it's looking for the declaration of layouts. If, well, actually this should be not declaration, this should be a field. Right, okay, it should be has field, not declaration. Okay, I'll change it there as well. And let's just put this in. Thanks. Okay, has declaration. So this one actually needs to be has field. Hello, chill guy. How's it going? Welcome. Okay, now we get a whole bunch of weird things. Oh, this... Wait. Oh. this needs to be mutable. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Cool. How's it going with your programming stuff? Let's see. Document. Oh yeah, so these, we need this to be that. Let's try to find. Right, so now we get a whole bunch of compilation errors. They get revealed. Once you fix a bunch of errors, you get more other errors revealed. Okay, so we haven't moved this function yet. So I was in the process of moving a whole bunch of stuff. So I will just continue with that. So I've put a whole bunch of functions in here, which is layout utils, which is just random functions that we needed to have. Right, so scene document actually doesn't have this one. Well, it's like this scene document. There. Started learning Pygame. Oh, cool. Oh, nice. We can actually get rid of that. And you don't need these things. Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I think I used that some time ago. Seems like a nice choice. I'm not sure what else there is in Python, actually, but I'm sure there's a bunch of stuff, different stuff now, but okay, there we go. Now this one does not need scene document. Don't really know if Pygame is really the thing I want to learn. Okay. So how so? Is it, or yeah. Context entity. Oops. Yeah, nice to get rid of that dependency there. Right. Oops. Wait, this needs self, but not that. Okay, what's going on here? Do I need to save and it disappears? Yes, cool. Okay, so we got rid of all the errors. Let's see if this actually works now. There we go. Okay, cool. So it's kind of weird. It's like this double click. Sometimes it feels like it doesn't actually work. Let me try this again. Programming Pygame is interesting, but I can't imagine what I would be interested in building with it once I learn it well. Okay. Well, I guess you would have to be interested in making some sort of game with it. I mean, I was thinking of, like, you have to question, like, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to achieve with the programming? Because I think that, I mean, yeah, if you start to build a project, you would learn a whole bunch of stuff, of course, but it's also going to be specific things to that end as well. So it's different to do game programming, let's say, different to web programming, like building a web page, different to like building robots, embedded programming or whatever. So it's always going to be a little bit different, but the core concepts, like if statements, loops, variables, functions, those things are always going to be the same. So even though you learn, like, even though you're building something that's not necessarily maybe in the same area that you're maybe, I don't know, thinking of doing later, but you're still gonna learn some, like, the core important concepts of programming. But then, of course, if you don't want to build a game, or if that's not the goal, then, like, for example, if you want to build a web page or whatever, then I would suggest you would do that. I really like making games, especially 2D games, but making a whole game need a bunch of skills in addition to programming, so I don't know really. Okay. So, yeah, I mean, I guess, like, what I'm doing right now, I'm only using programming to build a game, and, well, of course, I'm drawing graphics and stuff in another program, but I'm not using a game editor. I'm building my own, but that's just because I'm passionate about programming as well, so not only like making the game, but also programming. So that's kind of where I thought that was what we talked about, like, yesterday or 2 days ago, I think it was, right? Or was it 3 days ago? I don't remember. But I got the impression that you wanted to learn about programming. But yeah, I mean, it's gonna be, if you're gonna learn programming, that's, and if you don't feel like it's fun, or if you don't feel like it's engaging, or, yeah, it's gonna be difficult, I think, because you need to have, like, the passion for it. You need to have the interest for it, and to be able to, like, learn it, I think, by your own. I think. I mean, it's just like with like making games. It's like, if you're not interested in it, then it's gonna be super hard, I think. Well, just like with anything. I don't know. But this one is like, okay, it loaded stuff in, but then it's like I have to double click like 2 times before it goes in. Really weird. Okay, whatever. Yeah, it requires a lot of patience. I mean, I think the problem is that you cannot expect, if you're going in learning programming like from the ground up, the expectation, I mean, you cannot have, it's basically impossible to know how much effort you're gonna have to put in to be able to create a game. So I think the thing with that is like, yeah, you're gonna have to do baby steps and learn small things before you can do larger things. That's just how it is with programming. So it's like, first you have to just load, how do I create the project, whatever, how do I do this, but then you come up with all these ideas, but you have no idea how to actually do them. And that's I think that's somewhat of a problem, like when you're starting out, like you can't even know like where to set the limits of your ambition with whatever project you want to do. So when you're starting out, I think it's yeah, it helps to have like guidance of it, like yeah, I don't know, it's a daunting task really, because it takes like years to get proficient with programming. It's like it's a huge undertaking, but it's like you're always learning. I'm still learning, and I've been doing this for a long time. So everyone is always learning more about programming that are working with it. So it's like a never-ending story as well. But it's like, and I feel like if you don't feel it's fun, like it's gonna be hard in the beginning, and if you don't get like that feeling where, oh my god, I made it work, then I don't think it will be fun, or it's gonna take a lot of energy and patience. If the goal is just to make games, then I don't know, then there's tools for that. But for this is like, yeah, I want to learn how to program. That's sort of the goal. If you want to use something like Pygame or whatever. But yeah, I think the most serious problem in this long journey is learning is motivation. Yeah. And part of that motivation comes from feeling that it's fun to do it. I think, at least, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but that's how it was for me. Like, I started out, and when I got something working, it was like a dopamine kick, a huge injection of euphoria. Like and then I just started learning more, and I started liking it more and more. And yeah, it's like, I can't remember exactly how it was in the beginning, but yeah, it's I mean, it was hard, it was frustrating at times, so don't get me wrong, it's not like I said, it's not a dance on roses every time, but it does have ups and downs, yeah. And it's just an incredible feeling when you get something working, and it's like, wow, I made it. It actually works, and then you feel like, oh my god, I can potentially do anything with this. Which of course you really can't, since there's limitations. But that's the feeling you get when you start learning these things. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so we got that working. So scene and time maps, that's what we have. The other stuff is actually, well, it's just animation that we have right now. So I've also moved out a whole bunch of functions. Well, before everything was in layout.sig that had to do with the UI. Now, well, except the context, the data, you know, everything that is in layout is like UI rendering and handling input and calling functions in the context. So here, for example, we call editor draw if we are in an editor, and that in turn will call layouts draw, which will in turn look at what kind of document is it. It's gonna grab out the type of that document, and it's gonna grab the correct sort of handlers for that type of document. It will call draw function on that, and that is, well, I can remove this now. And that, for example, for field is gonna be this one, which is now defined in here, like this, layout scenes, layout generic, and then we have this draw function. So this is the draw function for scene files, right? So we just have to do this for animation as well now. And we also have this for time lapse. So I've moved everything that had to do with time lapse in here from layout.sig. Now I want to move the animation stuff, so we're gonna have to make layout animation, I think, yeah, or animations. No, let's just do animation. Okay, and then we want to go to layout scene, and we're just gonna copy that, put that there, and layout. Oops. Okay, so now we got our sort of basic file in here. Now we have to define like draw menu and handle input, which we get from layout.sig. What I'm a little unsure about right now is that I should choose a program language and stick to it, but I don't know what that language. Well, you don't have to do that. What I was thinking with Python was that Python is an easy language to get started with, but then you can always learn other languages. It's like, because most languages share a lot of stuff. So they share a lot of features. So when you learn things in one language, that can be applied to many other languages. And then you can switch and you can learn a little bit about another language, and which I will also recommend to do, because then you broaden your knowledge and you get to see what's available otherwise, and you also might learn new sort of tricks and add more tools to your tool belt, as we say, that you can use in your programming. So you should not feel like you are stuck with one program language. It's you can always switch. It's yeah. I think most programmers that have like passion for it will learn several programming languages, and once you've learned one, it's a lot easier to switch to another one and learn that. I mean, depending on, of course, a little bit, because some programming languages have varying, like different so different. But if you're with Python, for example, that's very similar to a lot of other popular programming languages or good programming languages. So that's why I think it's a good start. But then of course it's like, yeah, if you start with that because it's an easy programming language, you could say, then of course there are harder programming languages as well, but that's why I think it's better to start with the easy one, because then you can focus on some of the concepts that are important in programming. Like, as I said, like if statements, loops, and variables, and everything like that. And like string manipulation, like just the basic stuff. You can focus on that without having to need to learn a lot of other stuff that's needed for the program to work if you're gonna go with a harder programming language. So you can start out with an easy one, and then you can look into others when you feel comfortable in that. Or you could stick to it as well. It's like, yeah. But it's all depending. I feel like it feels like you're not maybe that passionate about it. So if you're just looking to do it to learn the skill to make maybe your game development improve or something like that, then, and you're not really passionate about programming itself, then I don't know, I feel like you could look at other options like outsourcing that stuff as well, or yeah, looking how to solve it in other ways as well. If you feel like it's like, yeah, yes, I feel like you should probably feel some passion for it, because otherwise it's gonna be super hard. But I don't know, it's up to you, of course. And maybe you can just try it a little bit and see how far. Like, you could set a goal, like a very low sort of first project ambition, try to do that, and then feel like, okay, how do you feel about that achievement, and would you like to continue with that journey, Like, for example, one of the first projects would be maybe like a text adventure game or something like that. I don't know. That sort of thing has shifted on, like, in the years, but I don't think that's a bad thing to start with. Still. So yeah, this would be layout, animation. Now we need the draw and everything else, so we are going to, so this is the menu function, I believe. Yes. So we'll take this and we will dump it here, and this will be renamed to menu. And we also need some other stuff here. We need set. Okay, is that it? Context, animation, yeah. This could also be interesting. What do you mean by this? Okay, draw animation. Yeah, that's the draw function. Add a text and wait load instead of text load. Yeah, so I think we have this now. Yes, so we have this. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're requesting the texture, yeah. I added this convenience function. So we have request document. Texture now is a document, and then I added a convenience function for textures specifically. So you can request a texture, you give a path, and then you get the texture out, and it will be cached in the system and everything. So we need railing as well. Right, and now animation input, which we haven't actually done. Right, so now these old switches here we can remove, and we use this more generalized idea with draw, menu, handle input, which are all defined in the list. And there's like pros and cons with having this sort of structure. Now it's less like on the nose what's happening. It's more generic, and you go in here and you're like, what the hell is happening here? And but at the same time, it's easier if you know the pattern. It's easier to define new stuff like this. It's like you only have to define these 3 functions, don't have to hook everything up. You just have to, well, you have to do one thing. You have to go into layouts. Where is it? Here. And you have to add the thing to this, which it can technically also be automated, but I don't want to do that. So this is going to be layout animation, and we're going to grab that here as well. There we go. Oh, we need to add it here as well. So there's like 2 steps sort of that you need to do in order to hook it up, but now you don't need to hook it up anywhere else. So is it worth it? I don't know. And we also, another bad thing about this is basically now we get stuck in this sort of pattern. So if we got something that's sort of outside of this pattern, it's gonna get harder to integrate as well. So that's always like a con when working with abstractions like these. To setting a small goal. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what you have to do when you start out, because you can't, like, if you're trying to do a larger goal, well, for one, it's gonna be sort of hard to reach because you're new. It's like trying, like, if you there's always, like, you know, the metaphor of building a house. You don't start with building like a mansion or whatever, or a skyscraper or something. You start small, and then you learn more and more, and you can build better and better stuff. So that's the same thing with programming. It's like you start small, and you can't expect to build a large thing at the start. So you have to start small, and then learn more and more, and then you can see more and more like, oh, how can I achieve this, and like, how can I break down this problem? That's one huge core thing about programming, like breaking down a problem into smaller parts, and then solve those parts, and then combine it together into one large thing. So it's like, okay, I want to make a game. Okay, well, you want to break that down. Well, of course you're gonna have a plan, what kind of game and stuff, whatever, but you want to break that down. Okay, I need to be able to draw the things on screen, I need to be able to handle the input, I need to be able to play sound, music, I need to be able to have saves or whatever you want to have in the game. So you break down, and then each component of that you also break down. But for a large program project like a game, I think if you're new to programming, you have to like set the ambition level extremely low. Like, as I said, like a text adventure game or something like that. Just like the first program should be just getting something on the screen, like printing something on the screen, and then getting small steps from there, like concatenating strings or string manipulation or whatever, and then you go that path, and you can learn that thing, because that's gonna be you're gonna use that in all programming projects in the future. So that's a good way to start, I feel, because you're gonna learn core concepts of programming, string manipulation, and variables and numbers and everything that you need for that. And as I start simple, and then you could try and think about, okay, how can I extend this to do more things or more advanced things, and try to do that. And then you're gonna learn more and more. You're gonna but it's always it's always gonna take longer than you think. It's always gonna be harder than you think. That's like a constant thing with programming. It's always harder than you think, and it's always gonna take longer. And that's not really motivating maybe, but that's just the hard truth. So it's more like, don't get down if you feel like, oh my god, this is so hard. It's like, that's how we feel all the time. Not all the time, but every time you feel like, okay, this shouldn't be that hard, and then like something comes up where, oh my god, how do I deal with this specific thing? And then it's like there's a lot of things that can go wrong that you don't really think about. That's maybe what can happen a lot. So sometimes you have to be real patient. Sometimes you just have to leave and refresh your brain, come back, and then you might have actually come up with a problem in the background of your brain. Your brain might have come up with some solution while you're not programming. And that's a huge part of it as well. Like, even though you're not working actively on it, the cogs are gonna start turning anyway, and maybe you sleep on it, and next day you're gonna have a cool idea that you're gonna try, and then you're starting again. So that's kind of how it works. And then over time you would learn more and more and get better and better, and I don't know how long it's gonna take to become to be able to make the games that you want, but that's kind of how you have to start, I think, to be able to learn real programming, to be able to get good at it. It's just gonna be like hard work, unfortunately. But that's how it is. But hey, I like programming. I think when you're passionate about it, it's like it doesn't really... Well, of course, you have ups and downs, as I said, but maybe it can be tolerated better if you are passionate about it. You come back to it and you continue anyway. So anyway, now I think we've hooked up the animation stuff. So I'm just gonna go, what do we actually see here? So we're starting to build the animation editor now. What's this error? Right, so we don't have this function, so we need to have a function. We can copy this because it has the same input, and we'll rename this to handle input, and we just set everything to that so we don't get some error messages. Okay, so here we go. Now we have some, and this one is the animation now. There we go. And then that should all be like hooked up to the correct type of document. So if you try to open this, nothing happens. Well, okay, here we go. Something happens. I'm not sure why it takes like so long to do this, but so the only thing I've done here is it was convincing. Well, yeah. I mean, I thought about this stuff a little bit, but I'm not a teacher or anything, but it's like I've tried to teach programming a little bit. Well, not like as a teacher, but like privately, and it's super hard. It's like way harder than you would think. Like to teach someone that doesn't know anything about programming, and it's like, how do you approach it from the start? Do you want to go into some of the details? Because I know when I started to learn programming, it's like I wanted to know, like, go into detail, like how does this actually work? Well, like what happens under the hood and stuff like that. Even though it might not be productive, I was just curious, you know. And I was like, but I want to know how this works. And in order to, I guess I wanted to know more about, I wanted to get a bigger picture. I wanted to get the whole picture and not just, you know, if you do this, then this magically does this, and then this magically just works. I wanted to know, like, why does it work, so that I can more, like, understand how I would put pieces together on my own to find out my own way, like. But anyway, yeah, so here you can see the texture. So you can set the texture that you want. So this would be let's see if we can get, yeah, so here's the player. Yeah, I don't have the camera controls, so let's add the camera controls now, which we have a convenience function for. So I'm gonna import utils, and I'm just gonna add the camera controls here. So now we should have the same camera controls as we have in other things. Curiosity, yeah. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. I think sometimes it's good to get a bigger, like, to get the whole picture, because then, as I said, then you can sort of understand more intuitively that what you want, like how would I go about doing something else. But then also it also detracts from what you maybe really want to learn, which is doing, like, building the thing. Yeah, so it's like sometimes it's like productive, or it can be like payoff in the long run. Other times it might just be unproductive because you're just learning like anything, like random stuff that doesn't really matter in the long run. But okay, so yeah, so we can set the texture. Now we can zoom in, we can use the camera. And what else do we want for the animation? Well, we want to have like different animations. So I've actually we already built an animation editor, and in the I've actually just copied over all the sort of logic or behind, like in the state for those animations. So we have these animations in here. So here is all that old, like struct stuff here, or all the old like logic stuff in the that I copied over from the other project, which is also nice because you can just copy it over, and it sort of, you have to, maybe I had to change a tiny bit of things, but it still works. So I have to now see here. So so we have these clone things, we have initialize, deinitialize, we also are using this string z, which I'm not using anywhere else, so which is meant to be sort of an easy way to store the string and also be able to use it with the UI library that we have, the INGUI library. The animation UI seems cool, yeah. I mean, it has one button and shows the texture, so it's not really anything to show yet. But it's gonna be. As I said, I already built the tool in the other. So I can show you here. We're gonna replicate. Let's see. Yeah, this one. So here's the old sort of animation editor, where you have all the animations over here, so you can select walk, attack. Okay, so this one, yeah, this is the old attack, so don't mind that. Let's do walk 2. So here you have walking there. Yeah, I have like different. Now I split it up into weapon, shield, and arm. But anyway, never mind the actual animation. But here you can select animation. You can see all the frames. You can select the frame, and you can also change some stuff about the frame and stuff. You can here's like animation settings and stuff. So my plan is to move everything that's in here, almost everything, into the new place, so that I can use it from there, and yeah, just extend that one, because this is a separate project and I was using a different library. This is using Raylib GUI, and in the new one I'm using InGUI, which has, well, in my opinion, it's a better library because it has like windows you can use, and like more like responsive almost UI and stuff, and like scrolling and stuff is way easier in that library. In here you have to basically like manually do some weird stuff with that. So but anyway, so this is what I want to replicate here. And it's just, it's a very simple tool. It's not meant to be like fancy and look good. It's just meant to do what it's supposed to do. So that's that's what it is. And I just want to move all that stuff into here. So we already sort of have a goal. So and that's good. So what I'm thinking is, when we open this up here, and so here is going to be like the view for the animation. So if you set a texture, where is it? Like here, and then, well, how would it, like the thing is, if you show the animation, I want to see like a preview, like we did in the other ones. I want to have a preview. I want to have be able to like click on these to select, because that's how you create a new animation. It doesn't look simple. Okay, well, I added. It's like it has grown from a very simple thing. It doesn't look. What I meant. I mean, maybe what I meant was that it didn't look fancy, like design wise or whatever. But yeah, in the old one you can create a new animation, and then you just click 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's the animation. You get all these frames in. So we have to think about like, where do we put the animation preview and also all the different animations, because that's gonna be like maybe that's its own window. You get like the frames in one window, maybe. Yeah, and then the preview could be another window, so you can like minimize it or whatever, or yeah, that makes sense. All right. So let's go to the layout, animation, and we'll go to, I think, yeah, it's gonna have to be in the menu then. So we have this sort of menu, but then we also want to have floating windows sort of outside, or maybe they are not actually floating. But we are going to have a list of the animations anyway, so there's going to be some sort of, is there like a list box? Not sure what that is. Maybe now it's time to actually bring out the demo thing. Yeah, let's go to layout. So we have this, which is weird because it's in it's like in the tile map editor, so I'll just remove that from here and then put it in here instead. It's supposed to be in the menu part, so it's gonna be in here. Well, okay, this one could actually just be wherever, doesn't really matter. But then there's like a demo. Yeah, where is this set to true? Enabled. Oh, this is the button, I think. Okay. So, yeah, okay. Like, what happens if you just have it, like, on its own? It doesn't appear. So you have to have it in a window. So you have to say begin, name is like demo, let's call it demo button. Wait, and then end. Okay, what about now? No? No. And then I think this one has a return type, or return, yeah, return value, so we have to discard it. Okay, there we go. So there's the demo button, but there's nothing in it. What? Okay, I don't understand. Oh yeah, because this is false. Yeah, okay, set it to true. There we go, okay. But then this should be false. Wait, what? Oh, so okay. Okay, this one should be out here. But then we have is open. Wait, no. We have a button called demo. And if that is true, we're gonna say is enabled is true. There we go. Because I think open is like the collapsed state. So it's just, and enabled now is like, do we want to show the window at all? Okay, there we go. So we want to start, this one is going to start with false. Yeah, both are false. And then, you know, ImGUI actually has like a config that it's automatically saving in the folder that you're running the program. So whenever you make changes like this, they're gonna stick around next time you open the program. It's gonna read in that config file, or like, yeah, session file or whatever, and then it's gonna keep that. So that's why this collapse state was like this, I think. But anyway, here is where you can see, okay, let's say you want to implement something new in GUI, and you're not sure what component to use, but you kind of know what you want. So for example, for me, I want a list of items that I can select from. Like I want to select one of each item, or I want to select one of the items in the list. So one item is selected at a time. And so you can look into here, the demo, where they have basically everything in here. And so let's check out, I don't know, widgets. So here you have list boxes. So this is the thing that I was thinking of. You can see here that it changes the state of the selected thing to whatever we click here, and that is shared down here, so they both use the same state. You can also, yeah, do this. Okay, so this is basically exactly what I want. And then you can scroll. If you have many items, you can scroll here. So this would be really hard to implement in the other library, the Raylib GUI, as far as I'm concerned. So that's really nice. Now, so yeah, so it seems like the list box is what we want to use. So let's go over here, and we have set texture, and now I want to have the list box, begin list box. And label is going to be animation, so I want to have the list of animations. Okay, so how does this work? It returns a bool, of course. I'm just gonna set this to, I'm just gonna discard that. I'm gonna end the list box here, and then I guess, no, draw list is something else. So how, like, okay, let's start here, and we'll open this up again and look at the demo, because they sometimes have some information how to use it. So let's look at this again. Well, okay, they didn't. Well, maybe here. So I'm not sure what these are inside here. There's like a style editor as well, so I'm not sure how to use that, but it doesn't really matter right now. Okay. And this is where, you know, I'm not sure how we... So let's see, this is... a window that shows like information about what we're hovering about, but it doesn't really help me that much. Okay. So right, so I'm just gonna Google this real quick here. This box. There are some documentations. Where's the documentation for INGUI? INGUI docs. Okay, I can show you. There, okay. Let me move this over so I can see. So, list box. No? Okay, maybe it's in another demo examples. Features. Okay, let's look at this. Wait, am I looking at the correct thing? I thought I found like a reference to a lot of things. About docking fonts. What? It's not going to be multi-select. I was just thinking of maybe if I go in here, maybe I can see other things, but it's like, where's the documentation? Manual. Okay, here we go. Maybe this will help. Oh, here's the code. Okay, cool. So you can actually look at this and you can... Okay, so here's like a list of items. Okay, so we're beginning a list box. It's going through the items. And is selected. Like, so we have this item selected index. Okay, so they're making a selectable. That's what I wanted to go. I'm going to sleep. I'll try to come back next live. Okay. Yep. Have a good sleep. Thanks for joining. I'll see you later. I'll also try to sort of pre-warn when pre-warn, I don't think that's a word in English, but warn when the next live is. It's not gonna be tomorrow, I don't think, but it's gonna be in the week some time. Okay, so it's gonna be selectable, right? So let's get rid of this. Over here, selectables, right? So we're gonna loop through a whole bunch of stuff. So this one, so we need the animation document. Get animations, here we are, dot items. So here's the animation, and then we are going to say yeah, selectable. Yeah, thanks. See ya. Selectable state point. Okay, let's try selectable. The label is gonna be animation name, but then So what you do here is you say, yeah, this is just going to be the slice, I think. Slice is going to be, well, it's zero terminated anyway, so, but it's going to be like the length of the actual content and not the whole buffer. Okay. And then arguments, we can have like, yeah, if it's selected or not. So this is gonna be, what you can do here in Zig is, well, first of all, we want to have a selected thing, which we have here. So here's the index of that. So I'm gonna add a function here called, well, we need set selected animation. And then we need an index. I guess it could be nullable so that we can actually clear it as well. And then this is going to be document non-persistent selected animation equals to index. Okay, and that's, I think, all we need to do right now. And then we have get selected animation, which we don't need this to be, oops, mutable. And then this is, well, this is really the index we're talking about, not the actual animation itself. So we should probably rename this to index. Okay, and then we'll return that, which is this type here. Okay, we could have, I mean, we could have a convenience function to get the actual animation itself as well. But let's start here. So this selected is going to be something. So I'm gonna have what you can do in Zig is if you add a comma in 4 and then 0 dot dot, this will be a sort of, this will be the equivalent of having 4 I equals 0, I is less than whatever, I plus plus. So this will keep track. This will be for the first item, you will have 0, I will be set to 0. For the second item, it's going to be set to 1. Third item is going to set to 2, and so on. So we can simply do here selected index is going to be animation document get selected animation index, and then is selected is going to be selected index equals to I. Okay, and then there's flags, and I don't really highlight. So highlight, if we set that to true, will that mean that it will be highlighted if it's selected? Okay, let's try it. Okay, so we have this selectable. Now let's see what else are they doing here. So there's a bool returned from this, which they say, okay, so this is when we click it. So here we actually want to select, we want to set this to I. Okay. And then highlighted in this is okay. Okay, they actually don't say highlight. Oh, they have highlighted index just to highlight the other list, I think. Yes. Flags is highlighted index. Okay, so you have to actually manually keep track of the highlight. So the highlight is like, I don't think we really need this. I think we can just get rid of this, because it's gonna be, you're gonna hover over it anyway, and yeah. Well, actually, if it's selectable, I think it automatically highlights. It's just if you have two lists like they do in the example that you want to be able to keep track of that. So let's not worry about that. Oops, there's an easier way to do this. It's like join. No. Join like this. Well, actually, there's an even easier in Zig. You just return or remove that one. Well, you have to do that, so it auto formats it for you. Okay, there we go. Yes, we get selected index. We check if it's selected, or pass that in there. We check if we are clicking on this, and in that case we actually set this to selected. They also set item default focus. Set the initial focus when opening the combo. Scrolling plus keyboard navigation focus. Okay, I don't care about that. And then they just add the list box. So let's see what happens there. It's not really gonna do anything because we don't have any animations. So we need to add a button as well, which we can actually add animations. So let's do it here. Maybe we'll have a button in the list box now. Maybe not. I'll just have a button here. So this will be add animation or new animation or create animation. I'm not sure what to call it. Alright, new animation, and this is nothing there. Okay, so if this is pressed, then how do we want to do this? Do we want to open like a little dialogue that has a bunch of stuff in it? Like, or do we just create a new animation as we did before that has like default values set? I mean, I guess that makes sense also. Yeah, let's just do that because that's easier. We don't have to implement a dialogue. It's basically going to be a duplication of the form anyway. It's going to have like grid width, grid height, and stuff like that. So if we do this, I guess one thing that we want to do is like we can use the reusable text box thing for this. So we could say context is whatever, open new animation. Well, this is kind of, it's like new animation or animations. This should actually be called animation document maybe, and then we'll have one for animation. Maybe this could be something that is on the document itself instead of being here, so we can add it to the document. And then that one is false. And then this would be animation document is the animation open, and that one is true. Okay. And then if that is true, then we want to show that window. So let's go to, I think it's the assets manager that has these things. Yeah, I'm just gonna copy this. We should probably move this into a function by now. Alright. Standard. Okay. New animation. I'm just gonna have this be the same. I don't think it matters since they're not gonna collide anyway. Okay, and then create. Yeah, is new animation dialog opens false, so this is an animation document. Alright, and we don't create a new asset. What we do is we say animation document, and I guess we have add animation, and then the label is going to be reusable text buffer. And we would have to slice it. So this would be, there is a convenience thing for this. I think it's, is it here? Slice. What was it called? Not something on S. Was it format? Or was it mem? Slice. Slice 2. Yeah, I think slice 2, yeah. So the pointer is reusable text buffer. Oh, that's the pointer. The end is a 0. So this will slice to 0 in this thing, and yeah, you will get a slice out. So now we have to implement add animation. Now this is gonna be, actually I wonder how this works, because is it gonna slice to the thing and have the 0, have the sentinel like in the slice? If the pointer type is sentinel terminated and n matches the terminated, the resulting slice is also sentinel terminated. Okay, so we are safe to have this type here. Okay, I'm a little bit tired here. Probably gonna have to call it soon here. Okay. Now this would add a new animation, so we would have to go to persistent data, animations, and we're gonna, yeah, we just append one thing. Oh, we need the allocator, and the item is an animation. And the grid size is like default grid size, which we should just have. Catch and reachable for out of error, or out of memory error. We need the allocator. And we need to define default grid size, which is a vector. And it's gonna be, I think the original had 32 by 32. It really depends on the document you're opening. If you're opening, a monster, it's usually 32 by 30, or if you're opening the player, is 16 by 32. So But we're gonna choose that common thing. And label, right? So let's grab the animation out. Maybe I should just do this. Well, actually, yeah, we have animations and we do self get animations. There we go. Now we can just say animations dot and this would be items length -1. Right, so that is the animation. And we are gonna set the name, which we can do through the name. So we wanna set this, whoops, set, wait, use slice, okay. Label. This one needs context allocator. Animations. Okay, expected type. Blah 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 slice. Okay. So I think maybe the safest bet is just to use this as a type. Maybe? Wait, what's happening here? Expected type, this, found that. Okay. No, but this is gonna be the buffer, right? Self get buffer. Yeah. Okay, so the idea with this string struct is, yeah, it's just a way to more easily handle strings with ingui. So how it works is you construct it with some capacity, which is just constant capacity that's going to be set, like, which is sort of the max size. And we have this slice field, which is always set to the actual content of, so the length of the slice is going to have the same length as the content of the string. And when we create the string, we have this buffer that we allocate with the capacity, and then that's going to be reused for the whole lifetime of this string. So we're never going to reallocate this string. It's always going to be the thing, and it's always going to be the same sort of pointer, and it's always going to have the same capacity. And so it's sort of like a constant capacity string, which is heap allocated. And so then we can use buff print with the buffer. I just put the whatever you want in there, and then the result of this will be a slice that has the same length as the actual content of the string. Even though it's zero terminated, this helps in some cases, for example with JSON formatting, JSON serialization and deserialization. So in my experience, when using zero terminated strings that has or serial terminated slices that has like, I don't know, let's say they have 128 or something max length, and then, or the length of the slice is 128, but the serial terminator is somewhere in there, like let's say 10 length in. And then what happens is when you serialize it, the JSON library will put all those zeros in there, or they will put the garbage stuff after the 0 in there as well. So they don't actually cut it off at the center now. They just put the whole thing in there. So yeah, so what I've done is I had this convenience thing where the slice is actually the length of the content, so that when you JSON serialize it, it won't become the whole thing. And we also have these custom stringify and parse functions, which are very simple. So for stringify, we simply write this slice, so the whole struct will become a string. And when we parse it, we read a string, and then we just initialize ourselves with that string. So in serialized format, this string struct will become a string in JSON, and it will be able to be parsed from a string as well. So you won't get some weird object that has slice as a field when then has the string. The whole object becomes a string. So, and also this get buffer works better with the ImGui input functions, which expects a buffer which has the slice that is like the maximum length and not just the content length, and that because that's how it determines what's the maximum length of this input, and yeah, handles that accordingly. So it's a convenient struct to work with both JSON and the ImGui library. Okay. And so yeah, and it's also like easier to work with because it allocates the thing once on the heap, and then you can keep reusing that same buffer as long as you keep within the capacity. And yeah, you don't have to think about much how it works, or yeah, you could expect it to work. Because it's like every time, which is a good thing, it's like in the explorer phase of SIG, like every time I deal with strings, I find new ways of handling it. And in the beginning I was like, no, I'm not gonna make a struct for it, it's just I'm just gonna handle it with allocators and or just passing the string or whatever. But then, you know, some small weird problems crop up every now and then, which is like, okay, I pass the string in here, but then it gets deallocated somewhere, but I'm trying to use it somewhere else, and then it crashes the program in some weird seg faults, and it takes 100 years to find out where the problem is, and I don't want to deal with that. So it's better to, well, for me, productively, it's better to just, because it doesn't have to be like super optimized or whatever. So we can just copy or duplicate the string to make it safe to use. So that's what I've been doing as well. Which this string Z thing also helps with, because it duplicates whatever you want to set it from, and well, it doesn't duplicate it, it copies it to its internal buffer. But yeah, but anyway, there's probably other ways to handle it, and which is better. I mean, another way was to have like an arena allocator, which you just throw all the strings in there that you need, and you allocate them and throw them in there, so you don't have to like deallocate them manually. And then when you're done with whatever you have, you can deallocate the strings. But that's another way. That's like another way of doing it. But yeah, it's like depends on the use case and stuff. Anyway, so where were we? We had... Alright, so we're trying to make this dialogue. Right, so we're making a dialogue, that's right. So let's see if this dialogue actually opens up now. And we call this add animation, that's right, we're calling the add animation function now. Okay, so here's our little list box, and it always has like a default sort of height. The label actually gets added over here, which is weird. I would think it would be added up there, so that's kind of strange, but we could just remove it and make our own label, but then I think we have to like make a unique ID for this list box. But anyway, now we'll add an animation, and so we get this new animation pop up here, and we'll say my animation, and we will click on create, and there you go. Now we have this my animation, and we can select it as well. I wonder if you can actually deselect it. No, well, of course you can't because we haven't implemented it. But yeah, so now you can add these animations. They will end up in this list. You can select whatever animation you want, and then that will become the selected animation. Okay, cool. So that's a good start. So yeah, we're coming along fine. So I think we're sort of defining the interface in a good way here. This would be sort of the main thing, and then when you open up an animation, you actually get into that animation. So it should open up like a window for all the frames, and then we can have a window for the preview, and we can also have not a window, but we can have in this space, when you set the texture here, we can see the texture, and we can sort of click on it to add frames to the animations. So that would be cool. And now we can also, since I've done this before, we can also easily add a sort of rectangle around where you're actually, which sprite you're actually gonna click on or to add. Because before, in the old thing, we don't actually have that, and it was like a little bit of a pain to work with, to be honest. With that stuff, you had to like manually use the scroll position to offset the content, and you had to like offset whatever, like the mouse position. Yeah, it was like a huge thing. So this is way easier because now we're using like a camera here, and so you just put a rectangle around the thing here, and we already have done that with the selection box. So we can just look at that and use the same principles there to build the grid up here, so that you can select whatever you need. So you can see how big the grid is, because oftentimes I've started to build, like click here and here to build this animation, but it turns out I hadn't changed the grid size. So the grid size was 32 by 32, which includes both of these. So it started looking very weird when I actually did the animation. So so then you can see that you're actually, oh, it's too big, I have to change it. So it saves a little bit of time there. It's just a nice to have, so which will be relatively easy to add as well. Okay, but anyway, so now we actually have this here, and we're also actually sort of adding these animations. I think I want to have a save button as well. I think that's what we're missing. Like we have save on all of these other stuff. Can we please go to the thing? Okay, there we have save. We have save, and it's relatively easy to add a save button, so I'll just add it right here. We could add it at the top. So if we save, we call context and save editor file, and that's it. That's all you have to do, I think. So let's actually see if we can look at where it's used. So here, for example, yeah, that's all we need to call, and that will automatically save the file in, like, yeah. So that's really nice. I really like how this pattern actually turned out, because now I can do stuff like this and it just works. So it will save all the persistent data, will end up in the JSON file, and yeah, given that the actual persistent data struct is done correctly, this will work. So okay, we don't have the editor. Oh, we need to do this. There we go. Okay, so let's go animation. Okay, so let's set the texture and see if we can actually save this now. And we'll create an animation as well. Let's just call it walk to have it a little bit believable. Okay, and then we click on save. It should save the animation. We quit out, we reload the thing, we open the animation, and there we go. The texture is the same and the walk animation is there. So yeah, now we have implemented sort of the basic things. Next up we need to add, well, we need to have animation. Yeah, we need to have animation specific stuff. So maybe we'll add a section here where you can set grid size and frame duration and stuff like that. And you can also see the info about the animation, like how long is the animation and stuff like that, and how long is the animation up until the point of with the frame that has been selected. So I want a window where all the frames are, and you can select them, and you can also then change their properties here, and the preview. And then also the rectangle around the thing, and you click on here, you add to the current thing, to the current sort of animation, you add a new frame. Or if you have a frame selected, you click on a thing here, it will replace the frame that you have selected with the one that you selected here. So I think that's all the things we have in Animation Studio. I think that's all we have. So once we have that, then we have fully implemented all the things we have in this, and then we can also extend it more easily with this new library, and have it be integrated into this suite of editors. So yeah, but yeah, thanks very much for watching. That's gonna be it for this time. So yeah, thanks for anyone tuning in and watching here, and